Life a million years ago was shaped by a single, relentless force: hunger. In a world untouched by civilization, where no fences divided land and no laws governed behavior, survival revolved around access to food. Every sunrise marked the beginning of a silent competition, and every sunset closed a day filled with tension, calculation, and risk. The African landscape stretched vast and unforgiving. Open savannas scorched by the sun, dense woodlands hiding danger and shadow, and rivers that promised life but delivered death just as often. In this world, food was not merely nourishment, it was power, territory, and survival itself. Early humans lived in a fragile balance with nature. Species like Homo erectus and other transitional humans moved constantly, tracking seasonal resources and following animal migrations. Their bodies were lean and built for endurance rather than strength. They could not overpower most predators, nor could they defend territory alone. Instead, survival depended on awareness, cooperation, and the ability to secure food before rivals, both human and animal, arrived. Every edible root, every fallen fruit, and every abandoned carcass was contested. Conflict over food was not an exception, it was the foundation of life. Food scarcity defined behavior. During wet seasons, the land appeared generous. Herds of grazing animals spread across the plains, plants flourished, and water was abundant. Yet even in abundance, competition never disappeared. Predators stalked prey relentlessly, scavengers waited for weakness, and early humans hovered at the edge of every opportunity. They learned to read the land like a map of survival, knowing which valleys produced tubers, which trees bore fruit, and which rivers attracted vulnerable animals. Knowledge became a weapon, passed carefully through observation and imitation. When dry seasons arrived, the world tightened its grip. Rivers shrank into muddy channels, plants withered, animals migrated or died. Hunger sharpened instincts and eroded restraint. Groups that once tolerated one another now competed aggressively for shrinking resources. Early humans followed the scent of death, searching for carcasses left behind by larger predators. These moments were among the most dangerous. Lions, saber-toothed cats, and hyenas guarded their kills fiercely. Approaching too soon meant death. Arriving too late meant nothing remained. Timing, patience, and courage determined who ate and who starved. Conflict erupted not only between species, but within humanity itself. Different groups of early humans often crossed paths at water sources or feeding grounds. These encounters were tense and unpredictable. There were no formal wars, but there were confrontations, staring contests, vocal threats, thrown stones, and sudden violent clashes. These were not battles for dominance or ideology, they were struggles over survival. A single kill or cache of roots could mean the difference between life and death for an entire group. Stone tools transformed these conflicts. Sharp-edged rocks allowed early humans to cut meat quickly, defend themselves, and intimidate rivals. A group armed with tools held a decisive advantage over those without. Tool-making itself became competitive. Individuals who could shape better tools secured more food and greater status within their group. Skill translated directly into survival. Conflict over food accelerated innovation, pushing early humans to refine their tools, strategies, and cooperation. Hunting was rare and dangerous. Early humans lacked speed, claws, or fangs. Instead, they relied on persistence and coordination. When opportunities arose, an injured animal, a trapped prey, or a vulnerable juvenile, groups acted quickly. Success brought food, but it also attracted attention. The smell of blood drew predators and rival humans alike. After a successful kill, conflict often followed. Defending food required vigilance, intimidation, and sometimes brutal force. Groups formed defensive perimeters, using fire, noise, and numbers to protect their hard-won meal. Scavenging was equally perilous. Early humans waited for predators to abandon kills, then rushed in to claim what remained.
These moments demanded speed and courage. Hyenas and vultures rarely surrendered food willingly. A miscalculation could result in injury or death. Yet scavenging provided access to calorie-rich meat and marrow, fueling brain growth and endurance. Conflict over carcasses shaped early human psychology, reinforcing the importance of teamwork and shared risk. Food conflict also reshaped social structures. Within groups, sharing became essential. Hoarding food endangered everyone as it weakened social bonds and increased vulnerability. Individuals who shared were protected, supported, and remembered. Those who refused cooperation were isolated or abandoned. Survival depended not just on acquiring food, but on distributing it wisely. Social intelligence became as important as physical ability. Children learned early that food meant survival. They watched adults forage, hunt, and defend resources. Lessons were not spoken, but demonstrated. They learned where danger lurked, how to approach feeding sites, and when to flee. Hunger was a teacher, harsh and unforgiving. Mistakes were rarely repeated because they were often fatal. Knowledge accumulated across generations, forming the earliest foundations of culture and tradition. Predators intensified food conflict. Lions and saber-toothed cats dominated the savannas, while crocodiles ruled rivers. Early humans learned to exploit moments when predators were weakest, after fights, injuries, or exhaustion. Fire, still poorly controlled, became a tool of intimidation. Flames and smoke drove animals away, creating brief windows of opportunity. These innovations did not eliminate conflict, but they shifted the balance slightly in humanity's favor. Climate fluctuations amplified competition. Extended droughts forced animals and humans into closer proximity around remaining water sources. These locations became epicenters of conflict. Groups clashed repeatedly over access, sometimes driving weaker groups away. Migration became a survival strategy, but unfamiliar territory carried new risks. Each decision, stay or move, fight or flee, shaped the fate of entire groups. Psychologically, constant conflict over food reshaped early humans. Fear became a permanent companion, but it also sharpened awareness. Anticipation, planning, and restraint evolved rapidly. Individuals learned to read body language, predict rival behavior, and recognize when confrontation was inevitable. Conflict selected for intelligence as much as strength. Those who could assess risk and act decisively survived. Over time, conflict over food accelerated human evolution. Brain size increased, social bonds strengthened, and communication became more complex. Gestures, vocalizations, and shared understanding allowed groups to coordinate actions efficiently. Cooperation provided a decisive advantage over solitary survival. Yet conflict never disappeared. Even successful groups faced constant pressure from rivals, predators, and the environment. Every meal carried risk. Every feeding site was temporary. Stability was an illusion. Survival demanded perpetual motion, adaptation, and vigilance. The world a million years ago offered no guarantees, only opportunities seized or lost. Food conflict also shaped morality in its earliest form. Acts of sharing, protection, and sacrifice strengthened group cohesion. Acts of betrayal weakened it. Over generations, these patterns laid the groundwork for ethical behavior, trust, and collective responsibility. Survival favored groups that balanced competition with cooperation. As centuries passed, early humans became more efficient competitors. They learned to exploit diverse food sources, reducing dependence on single resources. This flexibility allowed them to survive environmental upheavals that extinguished less adaptable species. Conflict remained, but humanity learned to manage it rather than be consumed by it. Life a million years ago was not a peaceful struggle against nature. It was a constant negotiation with scarcity. Food conflict shaped every decision, every movement, and every relationship. It forged intelligence from desperation and cooperation from necessity. Early humans did not survive because the world was kind. They survived because they learned to compete, adapt, and endure in a landscape where hunger ruled all. In the end, conflict over food was the crucible of humanity. It sharpened minds, strengthened bonds, and forced innovation. From these ancient struggles emerged the foundations of human society. The fight for food was not merely about survival, it was about becoming human.